Katie. I'm in New York at the Architectural Digest Design Show at Pier 94.
The topic of interior design is really about stuff. It's really about the things that we have around us. But actually, what we're going to be talking about today are the immaterial things, the non-material things. While we're showing pictures of interiors with furniture and stuff, but we're going to be focusing on the immaterial things. And we're going to be talking about interior design as a prescription for inner peace. I think nowadays more than ever, we live in a world that's really full of turmoil, political, environmental. We're living in an age of tremendous conflict and turmoil. And I think that makes our homes these sort of life rafts for us. It makes our homes even more, I think, more important than ever. And this notion of bringing a sense of calmness and tranquility, whether you want to refer to it as spirituality or calmness or serenity, we'll be using all of those words sort of interchangeably today. And I'm very glad that we have two experts in the field. Both Katie and Vincent have really made careers of creating environments for people that really are tranquil, calm, peaceful, and I think we'll be showing you some slides momentarily, but before we get to the slides, I just want to introduce first Katie to you. Katie Scott is often invited to speak about her passion for infusing spirituality into the interiors she designs. Katie, you're based in Texas, but you're from New Orleans at heart, right?
Exactly.
Right. She launched her own firm in 2005, and since then, her award-winning interiors have appeared in a slew of national magazines, including Domino, Architectural Digest, Elle Decor, House Beautiful, Traditional Home, Interiors, Southern Living, Luxe, and Women's Wear Daily. Katie's spaces come to life through her use of juxtaposition. As you'll soon see, she's fearless about mixing styles and materials and colors. Her work centers on a clear intention. She always sets out to express a sense of place where her clients' core individualities can shine. Needless to say, she's skillful at tapping into her client's essence, or as she likes to put it, I like to enhance the desires that ignite the soul. In 2013, as a means to wear more meaningful and symbolic accessories, Katie created a line of jewelry. And last month, so it's hot off the press, Katie and Vincent, after a collaboration, have launched a line of jewelry for both men and women. Vincent Wolf, in many ways, Vincent needs no introduction, so I'll just skip the introduction.
Yes, thank you. Oh, that's so good. I'm happy.
Through Vincent's 5 monographs and countless magazine articles, rather than list the names of the different magazines where Vincent's work has appeared, it's more accurate to say that there isn't really a magazine that hasn't featured his work. He's been practicing interior design and producing luminous, fluid, and sensual spaces for close to 4 decades. He's designed hotels in places as far afield as Las Vegas and China, restaurants that win the James Beard Foundation Award for their outstanding design. He's designed offices, showrooms, apartment buildings, golf clubs. His residential designs are spread across the United States and can also be found in France, Israel, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and Sweden. I'm exhausted, just this whole list of an inductee into Interior Design Magazine's Hall of Fame. He perennially appears on all the Shelter Magazine's top 10, top 100, or A lists. And beyond his talents as a colorist, spatial planner, and decorator, as well as the designer of interiors, he's designed carpets, furniture, bed linens, bathroom fixtures and tiles, fine crystal, and now jewelry. But beyond that, he's renowned and respected in the industry for his professional generosity, his mentorship, and his wry sense of humor, which I'm sure will be on display very shortly. The premise of his latest book, as I've said, it's his 5th monograph, which was recently published by Rizzoli, is that the classical elements, earth, water, air, and fire, form the basic building blocks of every successful interior. Without further ado, I think let's see some slides. Katie.
So this first interior is an example The way I design, I always start, I really do not ask my clients what color palettes or what style they're interested in. The first question I ask my clients is, how do you want to feel when you walk in your home? And for me, the best way to design is through emotions, because there's nothing more important, in my opinion, than walking into your home and it making you feel a particular way. For this client, she wanted to feel a sense of peace. She's a divorced mother of 4. She's very spiritual. She's grounded in traditional beliefs. And you'll see, for example, in the mirror reflected right here, there's an angel. We found some beautiful antique panels, actually from a church. And we incorporated a lot of those design elements throughout her home. Those are the things that grounded her and took her down several notches from the chaotic world and environment that we all know life can bring to you. She also is a huge fan of antiques, so I typically like to incorporate a lot of modern pieces. I had to gently coerce her in a few ways. This is not this particular picture does not show it, but she really is a fan of antiques, and it's really the main element that we used in her designs.
Yeah, you really brought sort of garden elements
Yes.
into this shot so that it really feels indoor, outdoor.
Absolutely. Always love to bring garden elements into the breakfast area. It's the first room that you walk into typically when you wake up. So for me, I love to feel surrounded and inspired by nature. I love using antique garden elements in particular because of their authenticity. I love the wear and the patina. This is a great example. We use that on her dining room table, breakfast room, dining table. And the fireplace I absolutely love for warmth. And this is where her family gathers. This is actually her daughter's bedroom. She's a teenager, and she is very inspired by fashion. This whole color scheme was inspired by her daughter's cashmere sweater, and it was her favorite color. You can't see right in this image, but we have vintage Louis Vuitton trunk and very serene space right here. Fortuny pillows and Leontine linens. And again, just a sense of peace. I wanted all of the interiors and rooms to flow with the rest of the space, even though this is a teenager's bedroom.
So taking something familiar, like an article of clothing or a familiar color, it just triggers a sort of sense memory of
Absolutely.
the familiarity, the comfort, warmth. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what if someone comes to you and says, I want my bedroom pillar box red? It's sort of,
Yes, and you know what? I respect and honor what my clients want, honestly. So unless it is something that totally doesn't flow with the rest of the home, I really try to, I don't want their home to represent me. I want their home to represent them. So you'll see later on throughout my work, I really have a diversified range of styles because it's not myself that I'm styling for. I really don't ever want someone to walk in a space and say, that was designed by Katie Scott. I'd rather them say, wow, this really reflects whomever lives there. So I really try to not leave anything of myself other than a sense of peace and really creating those things that spark and ignite my soul, my client's soul, that really kind of brings out and inspires them throughout the day to live their true, authentic lives and personalities. This is a great example. This home is actually in New Orleans. It's one of the most famous homes there. It was formerly owned by Nicolas Cage. It's called the Lalaurie Mansion. This was a very interesting story because when I was commissioned for this project, I actually had no idea what the Lalaurie Mansion was. And so I went to the bookstore to do some research, and I asked if they could guide me, and they said, go to the haunted house section. And I was like, hello. So it actually has a lot of hauntings to it. So I thought it would be perfect to really resurrect this home and bring life and energy to something that was once not as peaceful. The architectural detail is absolutely insane in this home. It's one of the largest homes in the French Quarter. You can see here all the detail in the ceiling. This particular client actually wanted to feel excitement and energy. He was not necessarily seeking peace per se, so he wanted this to be true and very in line with the French Quarter, very rich, dark colors. He wanted it to feel mysterious. He, thought it was interesting, and we really wanted to respect the history of the home. So you will see throughout this, and I'll try to get to another picture, we use a lot of bold color. This one room in particular, this is not the bold color room. This is one of the more peaceful rooms, but you can see the angelic relief that is all across the top of the ceiling. I loved that although this house had haunting history, that there was this angelic relief. We did a lot of restoration. We actually restored, this was a complete renovation for this home. And I thought it was wonderful to highlight the angels. It used to be monochromatic. And I love juxtaposition. I love using modern elements in this classical home. Python seats on the dining room chairs. And there's also some very modern artwork that cannot be seen in this picture.
Did you cleanse the house in any way? Did you feel a need to?
I actually did. As a gift to my client at the end of the project, I had the home blessed. But I didn't necessarily feel like, I just felt like if I came in and did this restoration and really created this peaceful environment, that I would somewhat be setting souls free and really let it be the rebirth of something that should be so beautiful. This room actually is supposedly where most of the hauntings and tragedy occurred in the house, which is why I named this room Heaven, because where there was once tragedy, I wanted to be peace. And so I asked the client if I could do one white bedroom, even though his wish was really to have these very dramatic, mysterious colors. We did use white in this one bedroom. I love the window. It almost reminds me of something you'd see in a cathedral. A lot of texture, the carpet, cashmere on the bed, and just very peaceful and tranquil. Here's an example of one of the bedrooms where we used very strong color and rich royal blues, little vignette. This is another project in Houston, Texas, actually. This family, very active, 3 kids. They used to have a lot of dark furniture, a lot of dark colors, but they were wanting something more peaceful and energetic at the same time. This is their living room, and they entertain all the time, and they're very big sports enthusiasts. They have tennis courts and always have a lot of activity and guests over at their home. So in this home, let me get to the next image. Their kitchen, very peaceful. Again, a lot of hustle and bustle, kids, 2 dogs. We used a lot of, I love all the fabrics now, indoor, outdoor fabrics. So we use some, great designs using very durable fabrics throughout. This room is a perfect example. That's actually outdoor fabric on the sofas and very energetic art by Ken Tate, who is actually an Architectural Digest Top 100 architect who is now venturing into art. But to me, that was a way for us to express energy and a lot of light and color. And then I love to have a family room. I call it dressy casual. It's almost like stilettos and jeans and a blazer, where you still feel beautiful. I never like to be fearful, or I always encourage clients to always be surrounded in beauty, even if it is a family room or even if you have dogs. Life is too short to take away untouchables, but rather just respect them and then infuse it with indestructible fabrics. This here is a vignette in that same room, so you can see a dressy element, even though it is the family room. Here's the entry to another home. I love the colorful, energetic art. To me, again, I like to ground things in neutral, but then use some really fun pieces of color and sparingly, and it really infuses great energy. I like to keep a pulse in the house. And again, you can see this is actually a breakfast room, but again, I love little odd things such as, an outdoor flamingo as if it's meandering in from outside as you drink your coffee and relax. And again, just bringing those outdoor antique garden elements inside, a kumquat tree and an antique urn. And I love it mixed with very modern, simple chairs. And here's a vignette where you can see a fun, modern, colorful rug. I love the gilded chairs with the black pleather on it. I think it adds a really nice modern element. The shot of citrine yellow on the antique bench, again, just infusing energy into a lot of antique elements.
You do believe that the process of interior design is really a process of self-discovery for your clients?
Absolutely, because your interiors, to me, are so special. I mean, if you think about it, we all have to be inspired. And how are we inspired? We're inspired through our senses. That's how we connect to the divine and in the spiritual world. It's using all of your senses. So when you can arrange and style your home, we need music for audible, inspire us through our hearing, visual aspects of your home through art, religious reliquaries, whatever it may be that inspires you. A lot of people need more energy. I also think it can push you to, I believe some of our greatest fears in life are actually our most unique gifts, and they're being suffocated. And so when you have things that can really help draw those things out through visual stimulation, it just prompts your soul to take a step outside of the box and to reach those goals.
Vincent, you believe that too, don't you? That the process of interior design is it's self-discovery for your clients.
I think it's a discovery for the client as well as yourself when you start to see things through the client's eye. I think you discover things that maybe you weren't really focusing on. And I think the client starts to see things in a very different way than how they initially started at the beginning of the project. So I think perception of reality is something that one person thinks it's white, somebody else thinks it's black. To me, the reality of creating environments that have a sense of calmness does not have to do with, it's more subliminal. It's how you see that space, how you balance it, what are the light, what are the pieces and how they balance one to the other. And to me, an environment where there's harmony, not necessarily complete balance of left and right, but a sense of calmness in how the elements are being brought together is, I think, what gives the space that soul. This is my house in Montauk, and again, I don't like everything to be symmetrical. I like it to be balanced, but not necessarily symmetrical. I think here, that tree that's outside leads your eye from, as you come in, all the way out to the ocean. So here's a client that I've worked with for, over 35 years. And we've grown old together. And when the apartment was first bought many, many years ago, he was in Wall Street, it's on Fifth Avenue. He wanted this to be the proof of his success. Originally I presented sisal. He said, no, I want an old rug, and I want damask, and I want all these things that mean that I have succeeded. After like 9 years, 10 years, they said, make it young. We feel like we're in somebody's grandmother's home. And so trying to take that space and give it a whole new life, we changed fireplaces. We a lot of the furniture was what was there originally, but how you approached it, the sense of being it very white, and the carpet, when you see it from one side, it looks one way, when you see it from the other, it looks totally different. But you see here there's balance. There's the fireplace, there's the screen, the sense of a calmness, a sense that you can sort of relax yourself into the environment without always feeling that it has to be perfect, that it has to be always right. I'm not the neatest person, so to me, spaces should always feel slightly wrinkled. There's no wrinkle in this space here, as you can see, because she is fastidious.
But Vincent, you're very big on comfort, aren't you? Literal comfort. I mean, you like deep-seated sofas, task lighting exactly where it's needed.
I want you to feel that you're welcome. I think a space, this chaise is straight as you walk in. The room is really, I think the slide is in here to the right. And I want you to walk in and always have something bring you in, say, relax, sit down, put your feet up. And I think if a space doesn't say that, you're already starting to give them a subliminal message of, don't touch this, don't sit here.
Right.
And I come from Cuba, and in Cuba, the living room in my family's home, nobody ever walked in. You would peek in, and then you would go on to the room where everybody could relax. I think it's a waste of money, it's a waste of energy, and it's putting boundaries on people when it comes to your home, which I don't think really works.
Right.
So here you see a setting where above the sofa, there's a tiny little photograph, but over the console, there's this enormous Mapplethorpe photograph. So it's trying to balance things, the volume of the sofa to what the artwork is, the openness of the console to the very dark Mapplethorpe image. This is the other side of the sofa, and the artwork was artwork they had. So these photographs were in the hallway, they're drawings actually, in the hallway. But I put them vertically to balance the orchid plant. So you look at it and you say, well, the orchid plant is not being balanced by the artwork, but there's it gives you a sense of balance, a sense of calmness. And I didn't graduate high school, I didn't study interior design. It's always been done by gut. And I look at it and I say that meaning let's put those. When I was working with the designer that works with me in this particular project, he said, well, are you going to line them up? I said, no, let's put them vertically. He said, in the center? I said, no, let's put it to the side. Why I said that, I have no idea, but I am convinced that that is the place to do it. So part of what I do is so instinctual, and maybe part of my personality has something that has a calmness to it. This is my beach house. And again, it's very relaxed. I love ottomans that you can put your feet up on, a tray, things that sort of formalize an environment while still having a Chinese chair, which is very formal, but they're things that tell you to just relax. This is the living room of that apartment. And you can see it where before it was a dark rug, there was a damask on the sofa, the fireplace was a traditional fireplace, we changed it to stainless steel. But the space is, to me, the club chairs were there, the console, the ottoman, the screen was there originally, the light fixture in the ceiling. But now the apartment looks so completely different. You could be in Paris. You don't know what period, what time it was done, but it's always, to me, each time I walk in, feel like it's so elegant, but it's not off-putting.
Vincent, talk a bit about scale in that room there. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's a lot of furniture in that room.
Are you saying that I did a room full of furniture?
No. I think that it's interesting that you've got a grand piano in there. You've got a couple of sofas.
Well,
it all works so well, though.
It's a turn of the century, like 1910 apartment building. So the scale is so beautiful. But I wanted the balance of the chair with the metal to the 1940s French, the contemporary chair sitting next to a traditional console. It's a yin and yang. It's a balance that you don't see the balance because it's not symmetrical, but it's a weight. You know, when you may have something very large on the scale that doesn't weigh that much
Right.
to something very small that weighs a lot. That's what I try to do. But there's openness as you walk through the space. There are things for your eye. I think part of creating a tranquil environment is giving you things for your eye to rest on, whether it is the Mapplethorpe side or the golden console side. You know, your eye looks at it, it rests, it gives you a sense of again, calmness without it being, you know, like, not like
Tranquility,
falling
right,
asleep,
right.
calmness. This is my bathroom. When I came to this today, for the last 4 days, I've been trying to think, what do I talk about that speaks of calmness? And it's something that I am working in my mind to go to the next step with a project. And it's so hard to think in a time where you are living in such chaos, not you, but the world, this country, that how do you translate an environment that when you walk in, it sort of like taps you in the shoulder and says, it's okay, everything is okay, relax, you're protected. And I think that it is so important to live in environments that are not chaotic, that are not, you know, jumbled. It really can help you go and face the world, especially living in New York, where the moment you walk out your front door, you're like bombarded with just so many things. That how was I able to express that to you all and really sound logical? I didn't come up with the answer. That's why I'm rambling on here. This is my bathroom in Montauk. And all the walls are white glass, the floor is white glass. The table to the left I had done in Bali. The table on the right I bought in a yard sale. But when I was constructing it, I wanted a fireplace inside of the shower. You can see all the way at the end, there's the shower head. And as the place was being built, I would go check the job site. And there were always like plywood leaning against the wall where the fireplace was going to be. But when the plywood came down, I said to the contractor, where's the firebox? He said, you were joking when you said you wanted a fireplace in the shower. I said, no, I'm not. I wasn't. He said, but nobody has a fireplace in their shower. I said, that's why I did it. So I was only able to have the fireplaces that you pour the liquid into. I was really pissed at that, because I wanted to be taking a shower and have the fireplace going, sort of make it that sort of, in what is this white box, have elements that really give you a sense of warmth and, because when it's cold outside, you want to feel really, warm when you're naked standing there under the water. This was a bachelor. And the window you see in the back is from India, and it's marble. And I wanted you to be able to, the bathroom is in there, to be in the bathroom and look out and see the view of downtown, which is what this bedroom is facing. But when you look at the white cube under the traditional table, it's again that yin and yang, that sense of modern and traditional, which is really what, to me, modern is all about, because these pieces were all contemporary when they were made at the beginning. I think to take a French chair and 18th century and make it look like it's still in the 18th century is unfair to the piece, because when the person created it, it was contemporary furniture. So I like to bring things from the past to feel like they're part of the present, not still caught in the past.
Vincent, talk about your use of colour as in bedrooms in particular. You have particular sort of thoughts
I
about
love bedrooms. I don't sleep that much, but I love the idea of thinking I'm going to the bedroom, I'm going to sleep. And I love bedrooms that have a softness to it. Even if it's like the bedroom before, it was a single guy's apartment, but it didn't look like macho man slept here. I like bedrooms to really feel it's the first thing you see when you wake up, it's the last thing you see when you go to sleep. And I love the sense of engulfed, that you're protected. You know, when your eyes are closed and you're sleeping, it's the most vulnerable moment for you. So I want always the bedroom to make you feel like it's really calm and protecting. I don't like feminine bedrooms. I don't like masculine bedrooms. I like bedrooms that walk the line, where you feel as a woman that this is your domain, and the husband feels like, yes, well, I feel that a bedroom is always the woman's room. And I'll tell you why. Because I think that there's something so romantic about a man walking into a woman's boudoir. But I never want the man to feel like he's not part of that room. So you want the colors to be soft and inviting, but still have a man not feel that he's sort of like out of place.
Intruding, right.
Intruding, right. He always wants to feel invited into that bedroom.
Right.
This is in Nantucket, and I bought the table at Wisteria catalog. The painting was something that they bought in the flea market. There are all these things that are not really very valuable, but the sense of, again, the balance of the lantern on the floor, the lantern on the, you look at it and it's like, it relaxes you and makes you feel like you're at the beach and you're in control. Here's another balance again. This is in Connecticut. The sense of, again, I love Japanese arrangements. It's always a high, a medium, and a low. And that's how I approach settings. So like the one before that I said with the 3 pictures, the one starts high, then it goes lower. And here the curtains start high. And if you look at the top of the picture, it starts from the curtain to the picture to the light. And I think that all those things really, again, are very subliminal. This is in Central Park West. This was done like 15 years ago. But again, you can see high to low. You can see juxtaposition of modern and traditional. The son played the cello. So I created an area where they could, this is a pied-à-terre. They don't live in Manhattan, they live in Long Island. But it's a place where they can dine, where the kid, who's now married, can play the cello. It's creating environments that you feel welcome, that you feel at peace, that you feel protected. I think, is that it? Oh, no. Again, here's another. It's interesting because I don't look at my work that much unless I'm doing a lecture. And I look at them and I say, man, it's the same trick you keep repeating over and over again. But you look at it here and it's, again, there's a sense of calmness to that setting. There's a sense of, Richard Serra's painting to the benches, to the console. It's all in how do you create an environment that has a calmness. This is the living room of that. Again, there's Jean-Michel Franck. There's sofas that, and coffee table I designed. It's, again, a lot of elements, but it doesn't look jammed in. It doesn't look like, everybody's screaming, which is important to me that none of the pieces ever screams, look at me. They're all, I always relate it to a sentence. A sentence has a lot of words in it, but when you read it, it says one thought, and that's how I like to mix in a room. Again, a bedroom in a sort of very soft blue with a 4-poster bed. This is one of my favorite rooms. It's the lady of the house. She is in business, so she does some work here, but it's a guest bedroom. The screen is done with ribbons, so when she gets postcards, and she just puts them in there. A beautiful, beautiful French Italian chair. It's pretty, it's soft. And where it all comes out of my head, I have no idea. But I'm very definite. I knew exactly what I wanted to mix, how I wanted to mix it. You know, it's being touched, I guess, by a higher power. That's it. Whew.
Thank you. When I was, researching for today's topic, I found some information that was compiled by Zen masters and scientists about large contemplative spaces. I thought it was kind of interesting. They were talking about how, what effect large, spacious feeling contemplative rooms have on your brain, on your cortex. And they activate the part of the brain associated with emotion and motor sensitive integration. They reduce anxiety. They lower the tendency to become distracted. And they trigger regions in the brain that relate to concrete representation and absence of judgment. So they kind of promote creativity and conceptual thinking, which I thought was kind of interesting. Now, so many of these wonderful projects that you've both shown are spacious, literally huge, large. What do those of us who live in tiny spaces, what are the tricks that we can steal from you? How do you make small spaces appear to be large? How do you, make a small space perceptibly larger?
You want me to start?
Yeah.
I actually love small spaces. Small spaces to me create such incredible intimacy. I think some of these large homes, you lose some of that. So it's really hard, and I think very important to do a lot of texture and layering when you're working in these large homes. For a small space, I believe in consistency with color, really just to saturate whatever that room is with one color, and then just have a few other things. That way you really feel enveloped in that space. So if it's a small space and even say your color is red, to really just saturate yourself in red in that space and really have the curtains the same color as the wall. I really like to hang them up as high as I can to the ceiling because it elevates the eye, and again, just really makes you feel encapsulated into that space. And even your upholsteries and just small touches of contrast color, but to a minimum.
What is it about? If you can choose the brightest color, but if you saturate the whole room,
It neutralizes
it.
Yeah.
What is that's
What is that all about?
yeah, it's interesting.
Well, it's the fact that it's not jumbled. It's not
It's
contrasting.
not chaotic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all repeats itself. And I mean, when I do that, I don't match the color exactly. They're all different shades, which then gives the room a sense of depth to it. But the more it repeats itself, again, it starts to calm you down. I mean, I've done red rooms that everything is red. And when I was doing it, I was so afraid that it was going to be so jarring. But the moment you walked into it, you felt like just so at peace because the colors gives you a sense of, tranquility, the repetition over and over again.
There's something about clutter, though, isn't there? Clutter is like a no-no.
Yes.
no.
No.
It's like,
Minimalist.
Well, I mean, especially in a small room. I mean, but again, it's how you perceive things. Maybe a lot of people feel that a lot of clutter is good because it gives them a sense of security. To me, a room with less is more. The less that room has, the more you're able to feel the air inside. Mm-hmm. The more cluttered it becomes, the more it just sort of goes around your head.
But somehow curated clutter becomes a collection, right?
Right.
So it's sort
If
of
it's collected in one area.
Yeah,
And one thing I always, you kind of touched on this, Vincent, as well. When you have a lot of things in one space, your eye darts around. So what is that doing? That's creating energy and a little bit of chaos in your mind, because your eye, I think the trick to any home is having your eye just smoothly roll across your interiors. It's not a stopping and starting at every single different room. You have to have a common denominator throughout the entire home, so your eye sweeps through a room. It's not jarring and starting and stopping. And collections are wonderful. I think, Vincent, in your apartment, I love the way you have collections. He has a lot of objects, but they're in small, concentrated areas. They're not, or
Spread
as the
out.
collector, one here, one here, one here, and then all of a sudden it's,
Because when you do that, it doesn't matter what you're
Right.
collecting. It could be bottle caps. But once they're all put together, the collection gets strength. You know, it's a clear point of view, and I think that that's very important.
and I love displaying collections on the wall, because then it becomes a piece of art in itself. If you can manipulate it and have it on a wall, and it looks beautiful.
Talk a bit more about the mixing of periods and different provenances of pieces too. Because that's really
I am all about a mix, because to me, opposition, it creates such beautiful tension. I like when there's tension between, when it's, I always say, too much of a good thing is not a good thing. When everything is the same, well, where's the interest? You're looking at a lot of pretty stuff, but then that starts to get boring to me. So I love when you have something old and crusty and patinaed, and then you juxtapose it with something really sharp and straight and modern and clean. Again, it's updating the old and also toning down the new, because sometimes the new is a little bit too sterile. So it's wonderful to add something that has history and tradition to kind of
And
warm
also-
up that space.
Sorry. And also, Vincent, you are very big on introducing pieces from different parts of the world as well.
Well, I mean, I think it's giving you a global point of view. And I think it's important when you have a mixture, the juxtapose, you know, a gilded chair with an African bench next to it. It starts to, I don't like thematic environments. It's mid-century and then everything is mid-century. When the rooms have different points of views mixed together, it shows your interest, it shows a broader sense of experience, and I think that it allows that room to travel through time in a much better way.
Mm-hmm. Vincent, you may not know this, but Vincent has crafted his life so that he travels for at least a month, usually 6 weeks,
2 months.
2 months every year. So that obviously is something
Well,
that
that's
is
helped
just...
me to expand my point of view. I mean, I wouldn't be the designer that I am today if I didn't travel as much as as much as I do, because that allows me to, you know, you look at something from Papua New Guinea as somebody who's never been there, and you say, well, what is it? Where did it come from? Is it, you know, black magic? What is it? When I go there and I see the people, or I travel up a river and stay in a village and I see where it came from, then now I understand it and I can have a dialogue with it and be able to mix it, because each thing now I understand its origin, and I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. Katie, what's the big thing, if you could focus on one thing, what's the thing that you do in your life that really grounds you?
Meditation. I wish it was from a design point of view, but meditation truly has changed my life. I always feel like I've definitely had a strong sense of spirituality in me, even from a young child. I look back as early as like kindergarten and first grade, and I remember these little things where I can see there was a seed of faith that was planted in me. As I got older and life gets in the way and kids get in the way, I have 4 kids, and I recognized, you know, how stressful and how much anxiety came into my life, and it was disruptive, and I didn't like the way it made me feel. And that's really how I started doing interior design, is I was trying to create these atmospheres to counterbalance what I was feeling inside. But I soon realized that even the most beautiful white interiors were only temporary. And that's when I knew I needed to go deeper. It was beyond just the interiors. And meditation took me to a place where I could really connect on a higher power and learn to let things go. Being type A personalities control, you're always making decisions for everyone. It's so nice to be able to sit back and know that some of my decisions are being guided, that I don't have to have and provide an answer like Vincent and I have to do all day. If you think about it, Vincent, where does this go? What is this color? And you know, that gets tiresome. So it's nice to be able to let go at the end of the day. For me, it's in the morning to really let that go and say, you know what, someone else from a higher power and from a wonderful place, show me the way and show me what to do today.
I mean, to me, it's interesting, something like this Architectural Digest show. As you walk around, you're seeing things that are coming from all over the world. And I think that, to me, it's the beauty of something like a show like this. I mean, I'm involved with in Maestri, which is a company here that's showing here. And they bring craftsmen from Italy and put them together with designers and consumers here. And I think that we have a freedom in this city that very few places in the world has, because there's so many influences coming into New York that something like this is really great, because you can see things from Africa, see things from Italy, see things from all over the world. So,
What do you do with artwork that just doesn't work, you know, in the environment you're creating? Also, what do you do if you think that a Richard Serra sort of print, for example, that costs $1 zillion would be great? How do you negotiate that with a client?
well, they happen to own the painting, so that made it much easier. I think artwork speaks for itself. I mean, the idea that somebody comes with a swatch to match the artwork, I think beautiful artwork works anywhere. And if it's not right, I think that you have to logically explain why you don't feel that that works, whether it's about the quality, whether it's about the balance. But I think artwork speaks for itself, and it should just hang. Listen, if it's something they bought in a shop in the corner for $50, you know, painting by the square foot, you have to explain why in the room that you're creating that it doesn't hold the room well, you know. But it's so personal that it's very hard to say to somebody, this is who you are and this is what you love, but it doesn't work, you know.
Isn't that what powder rooms are for?
What? Yeah, those
Brenda,
hallways.
that was my answer. Let's just move it to a little. But if it's important, you know, move it to a room that just may not be the focal point. It's not the living room or in the entry.
You know, I've been in business for 40
do
years.
people- do
Those
people-
words have never come up. I leave it up to you to do what you want. You know, no, but it's always a process, and you try to take the client, you know, to where your vision is. It sometimes doesn't go all the way. Sometimes it stops before. And you just have to understand, it is their home, it is their things, and you have to do what you're being paid for,
Right.
you know.
Yes, there's a microphone there, by the way.
Sorry. Building on what Ms. Scott mentioned about meditation, have you ever designed like a sacred space or a very contemplative space within a particular project?
I dream of doing that. I have not. That's a great question, but I think to myself all the time, I cannot wait to create a sanctuary. Really, that's how I think of the home, as a sanctuary. That's what I encourage all my clients. I always believe there's a difference between design and decorating. To me, a home that is decorated, it provides us with all of the functional needs that you need to operate beds, sofas, tables, and chairs. But a true designer gets in there and you're telling a story. You're telling a story about the people that live there and touching them so they really can step outside of their comfort zone. I think that is the most important thing, is to make people a little bit uncomfortable, to have it in their face so you can, you know, take a step forward and, you know, get to where your true self really should be.
Hi, for Vincent, why you don't like to use the fabrics in your project? They have a print.
Are you Italian?
Yes.
Okay.
Brazilian too.
I always try to guess. I'm looking for Cubans always in the crowd. So, why do I feel?
Why don't you use print?
Why don't I use print? I think a print, it depends. If it's a beautiful damask, I love damask. But in general, I find that print nails that room down. I like colors that are mercurial. So at one time of the day it looks one way, at another time of the day it looks different. When you have a print on that chair, it's always there. So if I am using, I'd rather have tone on tone, like a damask, or ways of that it's there, but it's not. I don't like if you look at the colors that I use, my colors are never like clear colors. They always have a mercurial quality, so I like that. It appeals to me. And I think it's part of what gives a room a very calming quality because it keeps changing. It's very soft. I always try to cut the edge. And a print is always a print, and there it is. And at one point, you're going to get tired of it. If the room has all different tonalities, as the day changes, as your life changes, it goes with you, much more.
And I think that's why all of your spaces feel so calm and serene. Restraints. Yeah.
Thank you both so much. What I would really appreciate knowing is if I'm moving away from the silks and the damask, but I still want the luxury, and when you said the hard-working fabric, could both of you give an example of like your favorite hard-working fabric, but feels and looks luxurious? And maybe in the velvets and the, as you said before,
I would say mohair.
Yeah.
Mohair. They use it in movie theater seats, but it has like a really richness. It plays with light. It has a luxury to them.
A particular brand of that one, may I ask? A particular brand, like the Holly Hunt
I
one?
love
or
Rubelli's
Rubelli's.
mohairs.
Great, thank you.
She's a friend, and she's sitting there, so I couldn't say No.
And Rubelli is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. I have found one thing, and I would love Rubelli as well. I actually was talking to someone in one of the showrooms at Holly Hunt because their outdoor fabrics are unbelievable because of the color range. They have one thing that I've been finding, most outdoor fabrics, it's kind of your basic whites, beiges, grays. Holly Hunt has come out with a line of outdoor fabrics where they're incorporating a lot of velvets and texture and chenilles, and it's very good, strong, concentrated color. So I think that's really fun. I have definitely found, of course, me coming with 4 kids, I like indestructible but beautiful living spaces, and using outdoor fabric is the best way, and especially all you animal lovers, whether it's grandchildren, kids, or dogs, people want indestructible fabric, so outdoor is great.
Brand like leather or indestructible outdoor that you like?
The brand, I've been using Great Plains,
Okay.
Holly Hunt, just because their range of color is so broad.
Thank you both very
Sure.
much.
I mean, if there's a trend right now, which I don't think there is any trends happening right now, but one of them is how much outdoor fabrics that were always considered to be something you put on the sheds around the pool is coming to the interior. A friend of mine, Tim Corrigan, really has been using it for years, and it really has now picked up and become part of the vocabulary when you're choosing fabrics for the interior.
And now they're soft. You remember how
Yeah,
they used to be so
right.
stiff? And
They're really, you can't tell that they are outdoor fabrics anymore.
Katie spoke of her meditation and her connection with spirituality through the meditation. I noticed in the photograph of your bathroom, the scholar's rock that you had on your
Right.
vanity. Would you like to comment on your connection to spirituality with respect to that and what that says about your spirituality?
It's there, like there's calmness there. I love in travel, that's part of where I find the most peace and spirituality, because I look at things out of the context of being in New York and being in the rat race. I try to relax, I garden. I don't do it like in a literal way. I love getting out in the garden and digging and planting. Those are the things that calm me down and make me feel going running in the morning, that allow me to center myself and start to really get away from all the things that hit us all the time. Yeah, I mean, I go to the Himalayas, I go to Bhutan, Nepal, go to temples and sit there and just be awed by its, just grandness. That's how I do it, not in a very literal that I go in. I've tried meditating, and I find that when I do, it just gets me very nervous because I want to, okay, I have 10 more minutes, so.
Maybe it's apropos for me to finish with this quote. You are not a human being in search of a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being immersed in a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful.
I love that one. Yeah.
So Katie,
Thank you.
Vincent, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.